Welcome to the Veterinary Rehabilitation Podcast, where we aim to help fellow veterinary rehab therapists increase their knowledge and elevate their practice. I'm Megan Kelly.
And I'm Ané Lloyd. Together, we bring you the latest insights, research, and information in the field of veterinary rehabilitation.
This podcast is brought to you by Onlinepethealth, a leading continuing education membership for veterinary rehabilitation therapists. With Onlinepethealth, you'll have access to a wide range of online resources to help you stay up to date with the latest techniques, advances, and trends in the industry.
Our podcast features in-depth conversations with leading experts in veterinary rehabilitation. They share their own experiences and knowledge to help you improve your practice. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out in the field, our goal is to provide you with the tools and the insights you need to succeed.
So join us as we explore the exciting world of veterinary rehabilitation and help you take your practice to the next level. Hey vet rehabbers, today we're diving into a hot topic that's stirring up excitement and a little bit of unease in equal measure, and that's AI. So if you've ever felt curious or maybe even a little bit skeptical about using AI in your vet rehab practice, this episode is for you. We're going to unpack all the fears, the environmental impact, losing the human touch, and the ethical concerns around accuracy and privacy, and looking at the opportunities AI offers to help us work smarter and not harder. We'll chat about how AI can support you in areas like content creation, marketing, design, and even customer service without losing your voice or your values. We'll also explore why some vet rehabbers are hesitant to dive in and how a better understanding of these tools might just shift your perspective. Now, if you're looking to update your continuing education, we've got 3 flexible ways for you to learn with us at Onlinepethealth. The first one is to join for free. You can sign up for a webinar of your choice and attend the session live at the scheduled time. You can head over to onlinepethealth.com/free to find out more. Or you can purchase webinar access. That's if you can't attend that live time. You can buy access and enjoy the webinar recording for 4 weeks at your convenience. And the preferred way is to become a member. You can choose from our different membership levels to unlock full access to all live webinars and a library of 500 recorded sessions, business basics training, and regular research updates. You can head over to onlinepethealth.com to find out more. Before we head over to our chat about AI, a quick word from our sponsors. At Paw Prosper, we believe true pet well-being demands a 3-pronged approach: prevention, support, and rehabilitation. Our brands are trusted by veterinarians, universities, and rehab facilities alike. So whether you're looking to train, rehabilitate, or help your patients age gracefully, our brands, Walking Pets, Help 'em Up, Response Systems, Fit Paws, Muffins Halo, Sleepy Pod, and Canine Carts offer effective, innovative, and proven solutions. You can sign up today to receive a one-time special gift for all our podcast listeners with your next order, and you can go to the special link, pawprosper.com/OPH. Right, over to my chat with Ané about AI. Hey Ané, thank you so much for joining me.
Hi Meg, it's always good for us to do podcasts together. I love it.
Yeah, and I'm so excited about this topic because it's a little bit controversial. Like, everyone has their own opinion on to what they can do with AI and whether we should be using AI or not. So this is going to be a good one because I mean, even you and me have a little bit of a different opinion. And you know, these kind of things like AI, I really feel when they first come out, something new like this, okay, I actually am the person who pushes back and I say, no, I'm quite happy with the status quo. Like, I'm happy how things are in my life. I don't need this new thing. Like, it's just something new that I have to learn how to do, and I don't know how to use it properly. And actually, no, but it's very short-lived because then I'm like watching all the people and they're all saying, geez, I just did this with AI. And I'm like, what? You did that? I want to do that. And then I'm like, okay, I'm going full tilt. And then I just like get and I got all the AI courses and I learned everything that I could, you know, because I've obviously been sharing with you, I did this course and this is what I can do. How is it like from your side? Like, when you first heard about AI, what were your initial thoughts?
Okay, Meg, you have like complete bandwagon FOMO. That's what I'm getting. You're just like, I have to do this.
I do. I see all these other people, all the things they're doing, and I think, gee, that could be me.
It could be me. Yeah, I don't like change, I guess. And things like this, there's when I'm uncertain, I take more time and I'm slow and I try and just watch for a long time before I make a decision. I'm very slow to jump to conclusions. Like even now, I'm uncertain. So I don't know if I really am for it or against it or what my opinion should be. I'm looking at all the things that people are thinking and believing and worrying about and concerned about. And a lot of like my thought is how much of that is fear driven, and that's not a good reason for us to make a decision. We shouldn't be deciding how we feel about something because we're afraid. We should do it from a space of like, we understand and we have information. And at the same time, I'm like, well, do I want to invest the time in getting that information and really understanding how that works? Because that's a lot of investment of my time and my energy and my mental capacity. And I see the things like for me as an artist, whoa, it's scary. And as a content creator who's writing, yeah, there are spaces where I'm like, great, this is helping and this is fantastic. But there are also spaces where it has made people's work redundant. Thankfully, I'm not in that position, and I don't think I will be. But there is that feeling of, well, what is the impact on individuals? Who are the individuals being impacted? So really, I have a lot of questions about it. I don't like sitting in a place of uncertainty and fear. And that's how I feel. I started with like, a few ChatGPT questions, and then I'll go back and forth between, that was super great, and oh, that was not so great. And I don't know if that was useful. And oh, that was really useful. That really helped me. And I think I just spent 3 times as much time doing this as I would have done it without the AI. So I keep going back and forth between those feelings. And that's sort of where I am with it. Yeah.
So, and then obviously, like when you're talking about ChatGPT, but there are actually loads of different AIs that we use. And we can go into that, like all the different AIs that we could use. And some of them could even just be diagnostically and, like helping us actually in our clinic, not necessarily just with content and creating emails and things like that. But let's go through the fears because we actually asked the community. And we got some feedback from the community about AI. And, I think when we're looking at this, it's really important to become informed. So to get all the information, and this is what we're really hoping today to be able to do. Let's go through like the pros and the cons. And then I think each and every one of us comes to a point where we're like, okay, like this is what I'm prepared to use AI for. Or they say, okay, I'm definitely not. Like that's really, so I think it's trying to find a place. So I'm hoping at the end, you actually, because right now you're a little bit undecided. So I'm hoping at the end of our conversation, you're at a place where, so for me, I'm careful with AI. I know its limitations and I'm wary. So although I use it, I embrace it. I think that it is something that we can all use. I am not just, oh, everything is AI and I don't trust it. So, and I think that for me, that's a safe place for me to be, that I don't trust it, but I use it where I can for certain things. And I think, one of the things for me, when I was sort of a little bit hesitant and I was seeing all these other people using it, I was in a place where it's not going anywhere, right? AI is here to stay. It's going to improve things, it's going to change things, and it is going to change our lives. And I can either get left behind and let that impact my business, or I can embrace it, but under my boundaries and under my rules and how I'm going to use it. So let's start off with those fears. Do you want to read some of the responses? First of all, just say what you asked, and then we can maybe just read some of the responses.
Yeah. So I just went into our communities, into our Facebook communities, the small animal veterinary havers, equine veterinary havers, and hydro veterinary havers Facebook groups. And I just asked, I said, well, where do you guys stand on AI? Are you using it? Are you not using it? What are the reasons and why are you deciding to either use or not using it? And what is it that you're using? Because like you say, we immediately think of ChatGPT, but it is not just, there are so many AI models. And they're not all the same thing. And some of them are very specific to our industry. Like I think of sleep. No one went and looked at sleep and went, oh shucks, what are we doing? This is a bad idea. We're all going and looking at sleep as a motion analysis tool and saying, yes, finally, this is bridging the gap where our subjective limitations as observers have been identified in the research. Now we can bridge that gap, become more objective, super easy to use in clinical practice. Yes, this wins gold stars from everyone. Let's use it, right? There's a lot of AI that's like that. And then there's other AI where we're going, I don't know if this is a good idea. So okay, so some of the comments, I don't think I should read. I think we should, like, I should read one and then we can talk about it a little bit, so that we can try and address them. But the first one that stood out for me was, I just have no idea what to ask it. I haven't really given it much of a shot, to be honest. And that's where I was initially as well, because it's just, to learn how to use something like AI, you have to learn how to use it. You have to be intentional. And where do you even start? And why should you? So yeah, that would kind of be that was the first comment that stood out to me.
Yeah, so I'm going to give some tips on how to use it, because this is also something when I first started. So like I would start now, I would say like to AI or to ChatGPT. I'm going to use ChatGPT examples here because that's probably the most common AI that people are using. But, you know, I would start and say, can you create like 5 Facebook posts about hip dysplasia, right? And that is like a very like direct answer. It doesn't give a lot of context to ChatGPT. A better way of saying that is, I am a social media expert, or you're a social media expert. You can say to ChatGPT, you're a social media expert. Can you create 5 social media posts, or be more specific, Instagram posts or Facebook posts on hip dysplasia? My target audience is pet owners who have dogs that are, and you can specify the age. Let's say you want to do 2 years and under, whose dogs have been diagnosed with hip dysplasia. Their worries are, and you can, you know, so you want to be really more specific and give it more information. And it's amazing when you do that, the response that you get is completely different. And if you feed it the information that it needs, so basically you can tell it to be any expert you want. So, I mean, you can tell it to be a copyright expert. You can say, you're a Facebook ad specialist, or, you know, and then create a Facebook ad for me. So you must tell it all the time, whatever you want it to be, whatever specialist you want it to be, and then it will be that for you. And then just give it as much information. So, I mean, that's for me is what I've learned. The more information you give, the better the answers that it gives you.
So I heard someone say something along the lines of like, ChatGPT is like an actor, and you need to tell it which role to play. So the more specific you can be, like, think of this actor coming in for an audition. Why would we think of actors as veterinary havers? I don't know. But you tell it the part that it needs to play. And the more specific you can be about that part, the better it's going to be at playing that part. And I thought that was quite a cute analogy. Another thing that I find really helpful with ChatGPT is I almost always say, I give it the instructions and I'm like, this is what I want to do. Ask me questions so that I know we're on the same page. And then that process of it asking me questions creates so much clarity in my mind. Often I'll have a project kind of half-baked and I've left out a lot of details and I'm not 100% sure about some things. And going through that process of clarifying it for ChatGPT, for example, then creates clarity for me. And then again, the outcome that I get, often whatever ChatGPT tells me is not the thing that I end up using. I'll have to, but it is inspiring and it gets me closer to the end result. Yeah.
Do you want to read another one?
Yes, I do. Okay, so someone said, I started using ChatGPT recently to help me with marketing ideas. It's given me a plan to shoot a promo video for my book, for example. It breaks it down to a step-by-step script. It helps me translate documents. I also use it to give me ideas to use as caption and hashtags for social media posts. I have to say, I was positively surprised. It can really help me with ideas and push me in the right direction.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's exactly what it's about. It's about giving you ideas. So like when you're like sitting there and you're like, I don't know what to write in my email newsletter this month, you can get some ideas. Like give me 10 ideas for a newsletter for pet owners that have dogs with poor mobility or reduced mobility or whatever, and then it'll give you some ideas. And then from there onwards, you can ask more, or then you just go create. I love using ChatGPT for ideas for names too. We actually did this for the Vet Rehab Summit, didn't we?
Yeah.
So we had like our theme for Vet Rehab Summit, and we like knew what it was about, but we were like, we want some like clever, like 3-word kind of name for it. And eventually, it took a while. We try again, and then what I often do is if it gives me like a whole lot of examples, I'll copy the one that I like, and then I'll paste it in and say, give me 10 more like this. I like very similar to this one. So like if it's there and not exactly there, you can get it to direct a little bit more for ideas. Because, and then also the more you answer it and the more you say yes or no, so like you say, I didn't like those, or I like this one, then ChatGPT learns what you like. And like, I mean, now when I go on mine, virtually all the ideas are the right ideas, so it's important to give ChatGPT feedback. So to say, I like this one, or if it does something that you don't like, you say, don't give me answers like that or whatever. You need to be very specific and tell it, and it learns. So every time you go on it, it's learning more and more and more about you.
I agree. Every single time that I've gone to it for a brainstorming session, I need ideas. I'm out of ideas. I don't know what to do with this. I've always enjoyed the responses it's come up with. Very creative, very interesting. I would never have thought of that stuff. And then, it's to me a great brainstorming tool and opportunity. Yes. So I think that's a good segue into the next, like one of the next comments, which I think is a very big concern. So someone said, I think AI has its pros and cons, yay. As a help for inspiration, example, social media trends, or help with organizing tasks, yes, it can be an amazing tool. I think a big concern with AI is its use and potential future use as a source to create educational content. I've seen quite a lot of educational resources that have been clearly AI generated with no reference to where the information is from. As evidence-based practitioners who can influence the welfare of animals, we need to make sure that information we're spreading is from reputable sources to prevent leading owners, students, other practitioners into performing treatments and exercises incorrectly. AI generators can, and quite often do, get their information from non-peer-reviewed sources such as magazines, blogs, etc. I know you can ask for it to pull information from papers, but it still doesn't critically analyze the same way that a human does. Also, if I had spent years researching something, I would be pretty annoyed if someone was profiting from my work and not crediting me. So really, it's a question of just because we can doesn't mean we should. So I think that's like educational content creation. Let's talk about that, because I think that is a very valid concern, and it is something where we should put to me, that is something where we should put the flag up and say, hey, can ChatGPT or other AI models be doing that, and in what capacity?
Yeah, so I mean, I think everything that ChatGPT says, whatever comes up from one of your searches, you need to validate and check. So if there is a statement that's coming up, that is something that you don't know whether that's true or not, it is on you, the one who has to go and check to see that. Like, I'll never use things that ChatGPT have said and think, okay, that is the truth, right? And ChatGPT in itself, I mean, there's a big disclaimer there, right? Is that they cannot say that everything is accurate. So I think it definitely, when it comes to sharing educational contents, that is our responsibility, but we can use it for general stuff. I mean, for example, if you go into ChatGPT and you ask it to create like a document or a checklist on changing the environment of a house with a dog that is paralyzed, like give some like a checklist and tips and advice or something, it'll come up with really great content, okay? And those kind of things you don't have to validate or check. It's when there's scientific things or they're like stating, 10% of something, then those are the things that you got to say, okay, well, you can ask ChatGPT for the source. Like you can actually say, copy it and say, where did you get this? Where is the source? And give me a link. And then you can go and have a look and say, okay, well, is that a credible source or not? Because as you said, it's just pulling any information that it can from the internet. And we know how many times we read blogs that people have written that are not necessarily qualified, and you think, where did they get that information from? So when we are sharing any resources, we're always looking at the source of where it comes from, and you just got to do the same. So I don't think it's any different to if you're on Facebook and somebody shares a blog that someone's written. You don't just share it, you'll always click on it, say who's the source, have their reference, and do they actually know what they're talking about before you share it? And it's exactly the same thing. So for me, I don't see any difference in that.
I think some good, and this to me is where like it becomes actually a very time consuming trap, and potentially there is not where you want to be using it. Because I mean, there have been moments where I have written something through ChatGPT. I've given it the I've given it the content I wanted to source, and then I've asked it to create something for me, and I have sat and checked every single sentence because I was like, I'm not sure that you got that right. And the more I've done that, the more I've made sure that I am super familiar with my source. I know what it says. I'm not just relying on ChatGPT to interpret what my source has said. And then being critical about ChatGPT's results. The more I've been like, it's not easy to spot, but you're just off on this information. And that's the thing I love about ChatGPT is the way that it speaks to you is you trust what it's saying, and it's very easy to believe. It's really a great language model. I love the way ChatGPT speaks to me. It's easy to understand. I get it. I'm on board. I love it. And that's also the danger, because if you are not super familiar with your source and then you're relying on that language model, yes, I think you could get some stuff wrong. It might not be big or serious stuff, but I think that does add up over time. So what do you do instead, right? Like, because I don't think this is don't use it to create content. I think it's really good at creating content, but how do we make sure that is really accurate and good content? Again, it's about what you give it to work with. Don't just let ChatGPT search the internet and create something for it. Tell it what you want. Give it the sources. Give it as much information as you can. Make sure you've clarified the goals. You've clarified what it is you're doing, who you're doing it for, what you're achieving. Be just as much information as you can. And then often it's really good as a copywriter, right? So create your content. Not a lot of us are good writers. It's hard work. It's difficult. ChatGPT is good at creating an outline and saying, like, this is the flow of something that you should follow. I love that. Take that outline, write it, create it, then take it back to ChatGPT and say, how can I improve this? How can it be better? Where can it be better? So don't be fully reliant on it. Don't trust its sources, and give it as much information as you can. That would kind of be my approach to that component.
Yeah, and I love like what you said about creating the content. So I do a lot of that. So I very rarely let ChatGPT create the content for me. I will write it, and because I'm not good at like expressing myself, and because I think it's the veterinary background. When we write veterinary notes, it's matter of fact. It's like This is what I see. Mucous membranes, duh, 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 duh. So when I write, even when I reply to an email, before ChatGPT, I'd reply to an email and then I'd go back and then put in, how are you? And like a little bit of something, because I'm just like, I literally reply and will answer the person's question. And then, so I use ChatGPT a lot just to like fill in a little bit. I'll say exactly what I want to say, then I'll copy and paste it and I'll put into ChatGPT and I'll say, just make this sound a little bit friendlier, because sometimes I can just be very blunt, just answer, and it'll make it friendlier for me. So it's still me. It's just I'm just missing out that step where I used to go back into my emails and do it. ChatGPT is doing it for me. And a lot with, sometimes I'm not great with the order of things that I put in and the English, and so I feel ChatGPT just makes my content a lot more readable and a lot more easier to read, whereas the content that I'm creating, and we used to have a copywriter that used to do all that for me. Do you remember? I say you remember because we were actually just chatting before this, like when was the last time we actually used the copywriter? And since ChatGPT, it's really decreased, because ChatGPT is able to do a lot of the things that she was doing for us. So when I wrote a blog, it would always go to her and A2, and ChatGPT is able just to find those little small mistakes. So I think, we must try and separate it from ChatGPT creating the content for us. It doesn't necessarily need to do that. It can just make the content that we create just that bit better.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. Another comment that I thought was really good relates to like authenticity or our authentic voice, especially on social media. So personally, I don't use AI for my social media captions because I feel it takes away from my authenticity and the brand I want to create. My brand is my voice, and an AI device cannot create that. It also isn't useful for solving new problems, but I do use it for saving time, like creating webinar synopses or writing a short bio about myself. So I thought that was interesting. And another one, I'm just going to read another one. I use ChatGPT to check understanding and check I've worded things correctly. However, I will not use it to create content. I believe readers want real life understanding and experience, even within a textbook.
Yeah, so the thing is actually about AI and ChatGPT is that you can train it, right? And so, with that voice, like what I've done with my ChatGPT is I've loaded content of mine into ChatGPT. So what I sound like, and I often will give it some like instructions regarding the tone. So when it does something, I will correct it and say, I usually respond with a more friendly tone or whatever. And now it gets it spot on. Like I don't have to ever correct it. So I think it's important to actually intentionally train it with your voice, because you can do that. Like it can sound like you. That's what it does. But there's obviously that takes time. So you need to do that. And the more you use it and the more you correct it, the more it will sound like you. But I think that is a great like example of how people are using it and where people are. So some people will use it for content and captions and things, and other people are like, that's not where I'm going. I'm not going to do that. And that's a good decision to make for you. It might not work for someone else. Maybe for someone else it's more convenient to use it for the captions in their social media. But remembering you could just write them and just get it to reword it a little bit. But even if that doesn't sit well with you, then you stick to your guns.
Yeah, I think you just said it. Like if it doesn't sit right with you, don't do it. That's it.
Yeah.
Right? Just trust yourself. I think it is important for us to have an authentic voice. I think it is important if you've created a really specific brand. I know this person who wrote this about her authenticity and her brand voice, and she has such a unique presence on social media. For sure she should not she should not change that, but she knows what she's doing. And that's not the case for, I don't know, most of us do not like creating social media captions, don't like being present on social media. We don't want to show our faces. We don't actually want to be present there. That's how I feel. me who manages all our social media content for Online Pet Health, I don't like being on social media. If I could delete all of it off of my phone and just like not go onto Facebook and Instagram for a year, I would be super happy, Meg. But okay, besides the point. The point is that is hard for me. And using something like ChatGPT actually makes it a little bit easier. Doesn't change my values or what I believe in or the educational content that we're creating. It does make it easier for me to get your attention on social media because I'm not good at creating hooks like Meg is and finding those, snappy sentences and little rhymes. I'm not good at creating that, but ChatGPT is.
Yeah.
So I think there is for those of us who don't like that space, this is really helpful. It makes it a bit easier and less intimidating to market ourselves. We can still be authentic. We can still be very real, and we can still get help with it. So I think that's kind of where I am on the marketing front. Yeah, I think it's very valuable there.
Yeah. And I think like you just got to work out, as I said, like what works for you, and also don't be so shut off. Like if it's not working for you now, using it for that's you don't have to stick by that. As AI gets better and progresses, you might change how you use it, and that's also okay. So like you don't have to say like, oh, I'm not using that and then stick to that. Like if you want to, you can use it. If you don't want to, don't use it. Like just see where you are right now and what's going to work for you. But I really do think that there is a lot of benefit to it, especially for the one-man vet rehab practices. Because instead of hiring all these people to do your social media and to do, copywriting and all of that, ChatGPT can really be like your personal assistant to help you with all those kind of things. So there is some great use in it if it sits well with you.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, this was an interesting one that I wasn't aware of initially, but I think that's really interesting. So resource use. A lot of people are against using AI because of the resources it uses up. It's nothing about how it works or doesn't work. It's that it's bad for the environment, and we need to stop being so cavalier about it, right? That one was a shock to me. I had no idea. But once I saw it I saw more and more people saying, hey, AI, ChatGPT is using a massive amount of power. It has a ginormous carbon footprint. We need to stop using it. And I was like, what is going on? Remember, Meg, I asked you about it, and you were like, what are you talking about?
I was also completely unaware. So we did some research. And
We did some research. But I'm going to be honest, I did use AI to do some research, right? And that includes GPT and also Google AI's little synopsis, which is fantastic. All right, so let's talk about it. Because if you asked me a couple of weeks ago, I would have said my computer's plugged into a power source. It's using as much electricity as it's using. I really don't understand what you're asking me or what you're saying. But AI models have a brain, and it's not in your computer. It's not using your computer's brain. So they have some place in the world where this is how I'm picturing it. This massive brain is set up, and that brain needs to be created. So obviously they need to like manufacture all the parts for it, and that has a carbon footprint. And then they need to train it, and that is quite energy intensive. And for something huge like ChatGPT, it's quite energy intensive to do the training of the model. Okay, so but that's a once-off footprint. That's like a once-off thing. They train it and then it is trained. And then it's not like for every user. So every time you are using it, yes, it's learning, but it's not like retraining the AI model, right? And then your use is using it. Every time you ask it a question, the question is processed in its brain. It needs to be cooled down, and it needs to be, using all the electricity to run the brain. Okay, so yes, that is all real. Let's not be cavalier about it, but let's also understand, okay? So the training and again, this is not, I haven't gone and sourced research on this. I have looked at a few different sources, but essentially it can take weeks or months or years to train up a proper AI model like GPT. This process does consume many, many, many kilowatt hours of electricity. Obviously, most of our electricity is generated through non-renewable resources, okay? But that also depends on the company, right? So again, not every AI model is the same. There are AI models that are more energy responsible or more environmentally responsible that are going to be using renewable energy sources. There are others that are trying to limit their carbon footprint by reforestation projects or. So there are multiple different ways that they could do it. Apparently, this process of training, for example, GPT, can emit over 550 metric tons of carbon dioxide. That is shocking. I can't even, quantify that. But apparently that's equivalent to the lifetime emission of 5 cars. So then you're like, okay, well, maybe that's not such a high footprint in the, the balance of the things that we're doing in this world. And again, that's a once-off cost per model. We're continuously replacing cars all the time. All right. So then then you're using it. Now you're using it. How much does that cost? How much does it cost every time you ask GPT something and it needs to process that in its brain? It's not so much, right? If we put it into perspective, apparently streaming 1 hour of HD video is comparable to hundreds of AI queries. So the moment I read this, I was like, well, why is no one talking about the cost of streaming services, right? They're super awesome. We all love them. We're using Netflix, and there are many streaming services, but none of us are considering the cost of those to the environment, and it's significantly higher than an AI query. So let's just be putting it into perspective. We could probably save much, 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 much more of the environment by deleting our Netflix accounts.
Yeah.
Not using GPT or other AI sources. So yeah, I don't want to be cavalier about this. Like, obviously, our environmental impact as human beings is continuously growing all the time. And it's a problem. And we need to be very clever about that and very aware of that. So do your own investigation into this, right? Make sure that you're comfortable with how it works. But also don't be bullied or fear-mongered. Don't make decisions out of fear, because putting it into perspective, the cost of AI in comparison to the other things you're doing in your day-to-day life, what has the highest cost? Where are your highest costs? If you're serious about saving the environment, I don't think cutting AI out of your life is going to be the most impactful way that you're doing that. So that would be my perspective on that, or that would be how I understand that.
Yeah, thanks for doing that research and sharing that, because it does put things into perspective. And I think for those people who are seriously environmentally conscious, like maybe those people who are not using AI, are not watching Netflix or streaming or doing anything, or they might be on, then yes, don't use AI. But if you're streaming and stuff, for me, I will actually be more considerate now, actually, as like, now that you said that, I'm like, okay, like sometimes we'll just leave the TV going, and I'm like, won't be doing that anymore, because I am, it's important, so thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, so really, with anything where the processing is happening not on your device, right? Anything that's cloud-based services, it needs a brain somewhere, and that brain is using energy. And what is the cost of that energy? Streaming services apparently are huge. Processing video is huge. It is not a small cost. So that is probably one of the things that we could really be more considerate about, is like, just stop logging into Netflix to like scroll. I do that. It's so bad. I'm like, what do I feel like watching? I'm not gonna watch anything. but I just want to see what's on there. No, stop doing that. Yeah. Don't leave it streaming in the background in the lounge. No. Yeah, okay. There we go.
All right.
Let's
So, so I wanted to touch on some other ways in which we can use AI, and probably ways that you don't even realize that are happening. So if you go onto a website and there's a little bot that pops up there, says, "How can I help you?" We've had that for years. That's all AI generated, right? And there is something called ManyChat, which actually that's the thing that controls that everything that happens. So you can actually program it to say, ask a question. If they give you this answer, you answer this. If it gives you that answer that. So that's an example of AI, which is really beneficial to your business, because if you can't be there, it can answer a whole lot of questions. And we've got one that really, really helps us with our business. Like it directs people into different memberships and asks them what, and then there's always an opportunity for them to say, "Oh, can I speak to a real person?" And we're very clear. I just want to say, and we always have been from the beginning. And it wasn't actually the advice that we got was to actually pretend that it was a real person. Do you remember years and years ago? And we said, no, we didn't feel comfortable with that. We want to say like, and our bot's got a funny name. Can you remember what it's called?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's called arthritis.
Arthritis. Yes, exactly. It's exactly what it's called. So we just thought actually when we are going to be like just put it out there, like this is the bot. Like this is not a real person, but you can speak to one if you want to. And arthritis will basically help you with whatever you need. And so and I prefer that. So like years ago, people didn't know it wasn't a real person, but we all know today like it's not a real person, right? But anyway, ManyChat can also help you with other things, and that is to answer your social media questions. So if somebody posts or comments, it can answer it, and you can actually program it to, if somebody asks this, answer this. So you can actually program. You've got to be careful and get the keywords correct, because it goes off a word. So if you say, they say this word, and we use it a lot to give people resources. So if we post something on social media about, let's say, helping them with vet reports, for example, we've got a PDF which can help them, and we say, okay, if you want more information about this, write vet report and we'll send it to you. And our bots through ManyChat basically will respond. We send you a direct message, go check your inbox, and then they go into the inbox, and then it says, is this what you want? They say yes, and then it says, okay, here's the link. So these are ways in which really, really help us, because we've had times before, Ané, on some of the posts where we've had 350 comments. So people are asking, like 350 people. And before we had ManyChat, Ané used to sit and click and answer those people individually. And you can imagine how much time that takes. So now she saves all that time. She doesn't have to do it. So these are ways in which all of you guys, you vet rehabbers, how you can actually use it. And these are really helpful with saving time. You don't have to employ somebody to do it. So your social media, get them to answer, and just integrate things a little bit more with your website and social media. So I really love that part of AI. I feel like it's really helped us with social media and saves us loads of time.
Can I add something there? Because the first thought for so many of us is, but if I do that, I'm going to lose that human touch. I'm going to lose the personal connection with potential clients. And they feel that, and they feel disconnected, and then it's not authentic and it's not real, and it's going to negatively impact my business and my growth on social media, because I'm not being present and I'm not being real. I don't think that's true anymore. I don't think we are coming onto social media anymore for real, authentic human interactions. And I think that's going to be a little bit controversial for us to think about, because there are spaces, there are a lot of opportunities where absolutely we're human, we need true human connection. We're not getting that on social media. It's not why we're there. We want that instant instantaneous response, instantaneous gratification. Like that is what we're seeking there as human beings. And I don't think that's good. I don't think that's bad. That is the perception that I'm getting. And if we're using something like a response bot that's going to reply to people instantly, that makes them happy. They actually don't want to speak to us, right? If they would like that resource, that's all they want. They just want the resource. They don't want to have a conversation with you. They don't want to hear the things you have to say. They just want the resource, and then they're happy. And they that hits. They don't want to wait for someone to reply. Yeah. I'm not sitting here going, someone commented, quickly reply. I can't do that. We can't do that. But the bot can. The moment they say, hey, I want that, they get it and it's done. I think that is more accurate. Like that is more what we're looking for on social media. Even when we visit someone's website, how many of you want to pick up the phone and call someone and have a conversation with a real human being? Almost none of us anymore in today's age. None of us want to do that. It's uncomfortable. It puts us out there. It doesn't feel nice. Yes, we need that. But in those first interactions, it's not actually what you want. You want the information. You want it as quickly as possible, as easily as possible, without putting yourself at risk of interacting with someone. I don't like it. I don't think it's nice, but I think that is actually the reality. And we can either be on board with it or not.
And I think if I look at our social media, that's often the first contact that we have, is that they've got a problem, oh, they can help. And when I've got a problem, I want answers right now. That's me. Like when I click on it, I want to download it. And so I don't want to wait. But what I look at in our social media and what I see, and I've got quite a few Instagram pages and Facebook pages for that matter, but those conversations do actually happen afterwards. So and then we get alerted to them. So we only have those direct like bot messages that happen through PDFs or videos or things that people need to learn, and things that we're sharing that are going to be helpful for them. But if they answer other messages, like on our Instagram and our Facebook, the Facebook will right away, that bot will come up to see if they can. But if they want to speak to us, they say, and then we get on and we'll come and speak to them. So a lot of those afterwards, once they've read whatever you've got, that's when the conversations do start to happen. And like you say, it's like once they've like read through it and they think, okay, I trust you, I'm going to carry on this conversation, that's when they're ready. So yeah, I think there's a lot of different thoughts about it. And I think that, we can either, if we've got a massive team of people and you've got resources and funds to pay people to sit and answer, great. But it's just not productive. It's not productive, and it's not an effective way to use time to do something that a bot can easily do. But you don't need to do it in a way where you're just completely taking yourself away from social media. I don't think you ever can do that. You still have to be there. And to be honest, we still read through all the comments. So even when people are just commenting without our word, we are still reading through the comments, because there are comments where people are not mentioning. They might just be giving their 2 cents about it, and then we reply to them. So it doesn't mean you cannot, you're okay not to be there at all because you've got a bot that's answering. That's not how social media works now. But it does just help you to do
it's not actually how you should use AI basically ever. You can't take your finger off the pulse. You need to still be present. Yeah.
And it's the same, like you can't, like you should never ever create something in AI and just publish it or put it out there without reading it. It's exactly the same. You're using it as a tool to either save your time, create ideas, rewrite things that you maybe are not able to do. So things that you're not able to do, and just improve things and for me, it's about saving time, really.
Yeah. And you know what else it makes me think of is like, if it's a priority for us to foster real connection and human interaction. Again, social media is not where we're doing that, okay? You cannot have real connection without really connecting with someone, without seeing their face, their body language, ideally having them in front of you, right? That is where that happens. So where are you spending your time with these real, authentic interactions? Are you spending it staring at your screen, replying to a billion comments? That is not real interaction, connection, right? Foster that connection with the people in front of you, with the clients in front of you. If that is your value, if that is what you're believing in and growing and creating, create that face to face, in person, as many ways and opportunities as you can. Don't remove yourself from social media, but that's not where your time should be spent. It's like, what is that 80-20 rule, Meg? Like, our time should be invested in the thing that we believe most in. That's not sitting replying to comments on social media. No. Yeah, that's
Is there anything else you want to touch on? I've really enjoyed this conversation because it also just reminds me of, you know, things about AI which I was questioning, and listening to the comments from other people. I mean, I've learned a lot too about the environmental impact that it has, and yeah, that I'm gonna stop watching Netflix. No, I'm not. I'm still watching Netflix.
No, but that is definitely what I've taken from that research. It's like, oh my gosh, using AI is so power intensive. And then I did the research and I was like, oh shucks.
Yeah,
Netflix is a problem that I didn't know I had. And this is the problem when we create fear around something new, is that information is warped. It's not accurate. It's not an actual accurate reflection of the problem. Yes, there is a problem. It is energy intensive. Absolutely. So are so many other things that are digital that we're spending a lot of time and energy on. We need to be able to compare that and then accurately decide how we want to spend our carbon footprint, right? Yeah. I think there are some other things. One of the things that I've seen come up is like this fear of cognitive laziness and our skill erosion. And I actually think that's super valid. Like, are we going to get really lazy using AI?
Well, I think it's true, because I see it with myself. Like, I just default to ChatGPT, and I mean, I've got like a bot that I use for myself, and it speaks like me and everything. And you know, I'll just have an email and I'll think, oh, just don't feel like just replying. I'm just going to see what the bot says. Copy and paste, put it in there, like, please reply to this. And I'm like, spot on. That's exactly what I say. And I didn't have to type it. I could just copy and paste. So I think you're right. I do think that is going to happen. And yeah, it is something to consider. Just now, the other day, I actually thought, what happens if ChatGPT goes down? You know, what am I going to do? I'm going to have to do all these things all myself again, right?
Horrifying. So I think I've been studying a lot. This is my second year as a student again. And part of that studying is so hard, so much work. My brain hurts all the time. So I keep trying to figure out how to make studying easier and how to make my life easier. And obviously there are a lot of AI tools that help you study. But what it comes down to is, if there is no cognitive load, you are not learning. And our brains are neuroplastic. They need stimulation, they need input, they need exercise. You know, all our muscles need exercise, our nervous system needs exercise. So I think it's a very valid concern. And again, make sure that you are educating yourself. However, if we're talking about that cognitive load, okay, so many of us are in this overwhelm, decision fatigue. There is too much in our minds that's taking up space, and the majority of it is small things that should not be adding cognitive load. So again, be super aware of how you are spending your resources. Your brain, your mind is probably your most valuable resource. So don't overload it with things that it doesn't need to be overloaded with, right? Coming up with 100 social media captions or hooks so that you can have 30 posts every month or 3 posts, I don't care, however much it is, that is overwhelming to you and you experience decision fatigue every time you think about it, that is not the cognitive load that you need, right? That's not what you should be spending your brain power on. You need to be creating clinical reasoning skills, compassion for your patients, presence in your life. That is where your cognitive load should be going. So I think be aware of that. Be aware of how you're spending your cognitive budget. Make sure that you're exercising your brain muscle. Read books. Do the things that are good for your brain. And
watch webinars. I'll never stop learning vet rehabbers. We don't have to worry about their cognitive decline. They just learning time and watching webinars and getting more clever.
so, but yeah, I do think it's something again, if you're aware of it, you can make decisions around it. If you're not, then as humans, we just take the easy road. And then that's where we run into issues. Yeah. Meg, okay, we've spoken so much about ChatGPT, again, because that's the obvious thing to talk about. But what are some of the AIs that are super applicable to our profession, to our industry, that people should be aware of and looking into and potentially using?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of them that comes to mind is, those kind of note-taking AIs. I think that those are really, really useful. And I think that's something that we can definitely use. I think as vet rehabbers, with veterinary, you do your consult, then you quickly type, and they've got, everything's there. They're using it a lot. But I think with us, because we have such long consults, and we're often traveling between clients, especially if we're mobile, I think one of those kind of note-taking where the voice gets turned into our notes and sectioned and put into our softwares and things like that, I think that could be really, really useful. There was that one, what was it called? There was an AI one that came out actually a few years ago. I actually had that guy on the podcast. Do you remember it? Talker 2.
Yeah. I remember that.
Yeah. Talker 2. And that was you actually before its time, really, if you think about it. And that basically you just spoke and it just created all your notes for you. And I think that in that case, I think that there is probably a lot of improvement and there are probably a lot of softwares that can do that. So I think for me, that would be so useful and something that I think vet rehabbers should definitely look at.
So one of the ladies in our group said that she uses Scribblevet, and it's been a big game changer. So I haven't looked at Scribblevet, but this was a recommend. Yeah, this is what one of our vet rehabbers is using and finding it super valuable. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I must say for me, I've tried like a few of the other AIs and some from like creating images and things like that. And I just default back to ChatGPT because I just don't, when they create images, the dogs have got 5 legs and those kind of things. It just never works for me. So for me, like, I feel like ChatGPT is probably the first port of call, and then you start looking at other ones. I think that for me, mainly looking at how things can streamline your practice a bit better. So ManyChat's one that I really like for social media. That Scribblevet, I'll definitely go and have a look at that one too.
I like that. And then not forgetting things like Sleep, where we're looking at gait evaluation and assessment, but there are other things as well. Nicola Kinnard actually recently published a podcast on AI in rehabilitation practice. She went through a bunch of the different AIs that we could be using. So go have a look at that one if you're wanting to learn more about the clinically applicable things like Sleep. I think there's a Tendy Boots, which is like a canine gait assessment thing.
That's like a boot that you put on, and the information gets transferred from the boot to your computer. Yeah, I've seen that. I think Donna actually was testing out something for small animals. Yeah.
Okay, so there's a lot for us to look into here, but essentially where are the gaps in our own clinical spaces, right? Not where are we not good enough, but where are we human, and our objectivity is not the best. It's reliant on many different things, our mood on a certain day, for example, or the filters that we've put on recently, right? So when you watch a new webinar and you have all this new information, very often that skews how you see your patients for a while afterwards, and you're looking at things a bit differently. So I love the idea of having more objective outcome measures. I always come back to that, and that's one of the places where AI can help us. So yes, please.
Yeah, so I think what our next steps would be to get some of those companies that have got AI sort of products that are interesting for our vet rehabbers. We'll get those people onto the podcast, and we can share more info for you. So one of the things that I created recently for our business vet rehabbers Facebook group, a lot of people were struggling with the actual what to say to ChatGPT. So like, you're a social media expert or whatever. And because I love all things marketing, you guys know that, I created 10 ChatGPT marketing posts for you, or prompts for you guys. So basically, all you got to do is copy and paste and just fill in the blanks. And it can create, like, the prompts basically are all about like creating a newsletter, and you can decide what topic it is. There are ones to create social media posts, Facebook posts, if you want to do these kind of things using AI. So if any of you are interested in that, you can go to onlinepethealth.com/prompts. And yeah, you can download those 10 ChatGPT prompts for free. And I hope that you find them useful.
I was playing with them last night, Meg. I was testing out a bunch of the prompts and trying to see what I would get. And I mean, I so loved the things that were coming out that I made my husband sit down and listen to them. Because I was like, how good is this? I would never have thought of this. This is a fantastic idea. This is really something that can help me market my practice better. So I thank you for creating that, Meg, because I think if you don't know where to start, that's a great place to start.
Yeah. Like, literally, it's all the prompts you'll need to market your practice. That's everything you need. Those 10 prompts. So, Ané, thanks so much. It's been lovely chatting to you about this topic. And yeah, looking forward to diving more into AI. So we'll do some more podcasts about it.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Meg. Bye, guys.
Bye. If you enjoyed this podcast, please hit the subscribe button so you get notified every time I load a new podcast. I'm here every week talking to vet rehab therapists from all over the world about all things vet rehab. A big thanks to our sponsor, Paw Prosper. Their sponsorship allows us to be able to give this podcast to you for free, so please go and check them out at pawprosper.com. Don't forget to bookmark the next Vet Rehab Summit on Saturday, the 8th of November, 2025. Come and be a part of the world's largest online veterinary rehabilitation conference created specifically for you, the vet rehabber community. Online Pet Health members get VIP complimentary access to the Vet Rehab Summit. For more information about continuing education for vet rehabbers, you can go to onlinepethealth.com.